Hey everyone, I'm Reena, and this is Resonant Space. So today, the piece of advice I want to offer you is don't get stuck where you're stuck. So for me, my personal hell as a composer is when I have one chord and then a space and then another chord that does not go along with that chord. And I know that there's something that has to happen in there and I don't know what it is. And to be honest with you, a lot of the time that I've spent composing has been about playing the one chord, trying something, playing another chord. Playing the one chord, changing one note in the middle, playing the other chord, and just getting more and more and more tunnel vision to the point where I've wasted hours just fixated on this one thing that isn't working, right? And so I'm stuck there, but then I choose to stay stuck there. And certainly I could probably go to another place in the piece, but there's a part of me that just does not want to let go of this one place that I don't know what's happening there. And I'm sure many of you have experienced that too. It's really stressful and it's really upsetting, and you just feel like if you sit there for long enough, you're gonna get it right. And so my advice is don't get stuck where you're stuck. It's really hard to pry yourself away, but it's important to do that. One time I was working on my oratorio, which is called This Love Between Us. And there was a point in the third movement where I knew I had to get back to a certain key. And I specifically had to get back to that key because I had instruments, both Baroque instruments and Indian instruments, that played only in that key. So I knew that in order for the piece to work, I had to get back. And I was one key below that. I was in C and I needed to get back to D. And I tried all these different things, but every single thing that I tried it just sounded ridiculous. And the further I got into it, the more perspective I started losing, to the point where I started really thinking these thoughts of like, oh my gosh, these musicians are gonna hear that I just went up this one key and are gonna think I'm a total idiot. And I mean, I know if you're watching this, you've probably had thoughts like this as well, but to people who are not, who don't work in music or in these kind of creative arts fields, it feels like the stupidest thing to be fixating on, that a group of people would judge you because you went up a key without preparing it or something like that, right? But these are the issues that we face. As it turned out, I finally forced myself just to give up and say, you know what, if that's the way it's gonna be, that's the way it's gonna be. I am willing to have this one place where I look like an idiot. That's fine. And what turned out was that my area of trying to figure things out was way too small. And then I opened it up. And what I realized is that about 10, 15 measures before the place that I was fixated on, there was a little more leeway. There was a little more leeway in the harmony, and it wasn't quite so tight that it needed to go into a key right away. And so when I moved that transition back, it actually ended up opening up the whole thing, and it sounded great, and there was like really no problem. And of course, it was because I didn't get stuck where I was stuck, or I mean, after messing around enough, I didn't get stuck where I was stuck. And I moved my focus outwards so that I could really see where the best place was to make that transition.